what it is. Brad Lee back again with another episode of Dropping Knowledge. Notice I didn't say bombs this time because bombs gets me suppressed. So this will be the last time you hear it called Dropping Bombs. It's now known as Dropping Knowledge. We're going to elevate the intellectual, and we're going to start bringing in badass guests beginning, not that we didn't before, but especially starting now. My guest today is Mr. Billy Carson.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for showing up and doing this. I had a lot of questions for you. Obviously, you're all over the internet.
Yeah.
The latest and greatest is your controversial conversation with that dude. Yeah. I don't know his name, but
I don't know his name either.
Expert.
Yeah.
You know, my question watching you guys, not knowing either one of you, is like, you know, what's funny is like when they say 4 out of 5 doctors recommend, I always think, well, the fifth one didn't. Why? How come doctors can't agree?
Right.
I think the same thing with religious experts. Now, would you consider yourself a religious expert, or what is the name of it exactly?
I consider myself an expert on ancient text. Am I the best expert in the world? No. And if I ever said I was, I probably have, just out of ego. But I think there's a lot of people in history that have become experts in their field before universities even existed. So somebody had to teach Plato. Somebody had to teach all these other quote unquote experts in the world and lay out the foundation. Somebody had to teach Isaac Newton and many, many others. So I believe that this term expert just comes down to the person's effort, research, and application of the knowledge, and their ability to discern it and actually implement it. So knowledge is not power. The application of the knowledge is power. And so, it doesn't really matter where you were, where you came from. If you're out in the field, I spent the last 30 years traveling the world, been around the world 18 times. Last year, I spent 9 months in hotels. So that's a lot of field work. And a person that may go to a university and spend 3-4 hours a day there, 4 days a week, they're not going to be able to accumulate the level of knowledge I've been able to accumulate when I'm there in person, talking to indigenous cultures, getting answers in the field, doing my own research, doing my own scientific studies, taking measurements and everything else, and building my own hypothesis. So there's a little give and take.
You're seeking.
I'm seeking information 24/7.
And you may be wrong.
I could be wrong. And guess what? Over the years, some of my concepts, ideas, and even theories have been slightly skewed or changed over the years based on new information.
Folks, if you guys don't know who this dude is, you're sleeping under a rock. Billy Carson is the founder and CEO of Forbidden Knowledge. That's spelled with the number 4. Forbidden Knowledge. He's got Forbidden Knowledge TV, by the way, which I didn't even know about. So I'm going to go get that just because I'm interested. I don't have to believe it just because you say it.
Yeah.
Like, there's so many people that get all butthurt and offended when someone says something. It's like, dude, you ain't got to believe it.
Right.
But I'm listening. Why? Well, because, dude, I want to hear, like, you did a lot more research than I have, and I want to hear what you found.
Yeah.
I don't have to believe it, which is a conscious streaming network. He's best-selling author of many books, the Compendium of the Emerald Tablets. Woke doesn't mean broke. It's starting to. The Epic of Humanity and Fractal Holographic Universe, the Matrix Code Revealed. Do you believe we're living in a matrix?
I sure do. I believe that we're living in a matrix.
So this is all. Did you see a video recently where they're showing this laser and they see guys looking like this, and you can see where it's distorting reality, or they're doing something to where you can see that it is a matrix?
Yeah.
What's that about?
Well, it could be a trick of light and shadows, or it could be something else. I think really to see the distortion of the matrix itself, you would need to have a laser that is so hot that it heats the atmosphere to where it's ripping into space-time. But I believe that just based on the scientific information and the quantum physics evidence that we have from real theoretical physicists, real quantum physicists, and mathematicians, they come to the conclusion scientifically that we are living in a fractal holographic matrix of light. And what is a fractal? A fractal is a pattern that's similar, that breaks down to self-similar patterns on smaller and smaller scales. The holographic nature comes from the fact that when you look at a hologram, when you go into the smallest part of that hologram, you can see the entire image. Well, scientists did that to reality, and guess what they found? They found they can see the bigger image in the smallest piece, and the only thing they lose on zooming in is clarity. So things become very unstable at the smallest scales. almost like when you're zooming in or you blow up an image that's kind of blurry, and the bigger it gets pixelated. So reality becomes pixelated. But they did some special mathematics on the ether of space-time itself, and they found these codes embedded within reality. And these codes are amazing. So Professor James Gates Jr. from the University of Maryland, former presidential advisor to Obama at the time he was in office, also got together with a team of philomath, super mathematicians, and they discovered these codes and they named them Adinkra codes. Now, these Adinkra codes, kind of similar to the Adinkra symbols of the Dogon tribe out of Mali, Africa, when you turn those symbols into three-dimensional objects, within those symbols are these mathematical codes called error correcting codes. But not just any error correcting code. These are the same error correcting codes in search engines and web browsers. And that's what's embedded into reality.
Now, see, if that's the truth, holy shit, number one. Number two, well, then that would be evidence of a creator right there.
Boom. Exactly.
Yeah. So you believe there's a creator.
Oh, yeah. The science proves it. The mathematics proves that we're living in a creation. So the Bible is right. The Quran is right. The ancient indigenous cultures all around the world, all the ancient texts, they're all right. We're living in a creation.
Well, they can't be all right because they contradict each other.
Well, they say they are all right in one area, that we're living in a creation.
So would you agree with this statement? There's truth in all of them.
There's truth in all of them.
Because that's what I seem to feel. Like, I just feel that. I don't know that to be true, but I do feel it. I feel that there is truth in every religion. I think at some point there was the truth, and then through that fractal of light, or whatever you said, you're seeing glimmerings of the truth in all of it. But you're also seeing corruption of man,
right.
And that's why you have the contradictions.
Yes. People took the parts that resonated with them and broke off into sects and made those different alternative versions of spirituality and called it this religion or that religion. But yes, you're 100% correct. Those are fractals of the one source.
People are going to start saying I'm a Billy Carson fan. Well, again, I mean, I'm a fan. I'm a fan of everybody. But to me, when I was listening, you know, where I was going with that is that dude said it so matter-of-factly. You said it so matter-of-factly. Who's correct? Well, the Sinaiticus Iaconicus says, well, dude, you don't read that shit. You had to listen to somebody. You don't read that shit. You don't know that language. Yeah. And then you go back even further. Well, now it's in a different language. You go back even further. It's like old, ancient, freaking Aramaic, freaking Sanskrit bullshit. Nobody reads that. Yeah. So how do you know that the people we're talking to that claim they can read it ain't full of shit?
You don't really know. But what I do have is I have a group of extremely high-level academics in theology, Assyriology, and theology. I'm talking about the combined years of experience is going to be probably 40, 50 years. These are PhDs and doctors in that field. These are the ones who can read it. And they're going to have a sit-down roundtable discussion with me in just a few short weeks to break this whole thing down. And I'm looking forward to that. And I don't agree with everything I have to say.
Well, what I would do if I were you is I would put all the different religions in a room and do a big old debate, because like I've never seen one of those. I'm sure they've happened, but I wasn't there, and I want to see them because I want to hear from everybody and just feel. I think at the end of the day, we can feel what's right. I think we're gifted with intuition deep down, and some of us mask it. Do you think fluoride is to cover our third eye?
Yeah, I do. Well, that's now they just came out with the actual scientific documents recently. This is only like maybe a month ago that show that, yes, they finally admit fluoride is a neurotoxin that literally destroys the brain. And now,
I've seen articles.
Yeah. It's real. Now they're taking it out of water systems in certain states. Some states are still pumping it into the water. Certain states are taking it out of the water because it's a neurotoxin that affects the human mind, which means it definitely affects the pineal gland.
And guys, this guy holds certifications in neuroscience from MIT and ancient civilizations from Harvard. And by the way, as CEO of First Class Space Agency in Fort Lauderdale, he leads the research in alternative propulsion and zero-point energy. Did my team screw up, or is that true?
Accurate. That's accurate, yeah.
And combining his passions for innovation, education, and conscious living. So, dude, bring me back, though. Yeah. Where'd Billy Carson come from? Because you came out of the fucking blue on the internet.
Billy Carson came from 1971 when I was born. in New York City, Queens General Hospital. Grew up in a very tumultuous situation. Born in the hospital, couldn't make it home for a month because fighting for my life. There was a problem, a hemorrhage that was going on in my heart. I'm Rh negative blood type. 15% of the world or less has that blood type. And my mom was bleeding out as well because I was 10.5 pounds and she's Rh negative, which is super rare that both of us would be in the same room, same time bleeding out, and they can't find the blood. So she almost died and I almost died. So I came into this world with a really rough start to begin with. Grew up in the ghettos of Miami as we moved to Miami in 1976. And it was object poverty. I'm talking about, drinking out of the water hose to have water, connecting the water hose to a neighbor's house to wash off in the backyard because we didn't have showers and we didn't have running water in the house most of the time. We had a broken septic tank, so sewage would fill up inside the tub and all of that. Just a really bad situation, eating Cairo syrup and toast. And one day I said to myself, I just want to have money for the ice cream truck. My friends were in this poor neighborhood and they're going to the ice cream truck every day. And I don't have 3 pennies to get the little bazooka bubble gum. So I said, I'm going to sell my toys. So I had all these toys, broken, some whatever. I just put them inside this milk crate. And I went door to door throughout the entire neighborhood. I violated my mom's rules by leaving the front yard because it was bad in the neighborhood. And I just asked for donations for my toys. And the parents gave me a nickel, a penny, $1, a quarter, whatever. By the time I got done, I had about $13 and change. And that was a day that made Billy Carson because I said to myself, I am going to get out of here. I am going to save myself. Actually, I said those actual words that day. I realized that if I have a thought and I take action, I can get a different result. And from that moment on, my life changed. And that's where I came from.
How old were you?
At that time, I was 8 years old.
So relatively intuitive for an 8-year-old.
Yeah.
I'd say.
Yeah.
And then eventually, like, again, were you just going to regular school? Like that day might have been the pivotal day that you look back and say that's when it changed, but it didn't necessarily change for you then.
No. Well, I started seeing things totally differently. Everything that I looked at, I thought differently. So the next thing that happened was in that neighborhood, we lived close to the Opelika Airport, the same airport that's in that Martin Lawrence and Will Smith movie, Bad Boys.
Yeah.
Private airport out there. And so we used to watch the airplanes just go over the backyard. Nothing else to do back then. I mean, there's only 4 channels on TV, no cell phones, no pagers, no entertainment. You go outside and you play. And I'm standing out there in the backyard and I'm watching airplanes go over. It takes them a few minutes to clear the horizon. This one day, an object went across the horizon in seconds, not minutes. And I was like, whoa, what was that? And that thing came back and stopped. It looked like a elliptical orb, glowing metalish type object. I didn't know what it was. I ran in the house and told my mom, and she said, well, son, advanced beings used to live here on this planet. She didn't say aliens, she said advanced beings. This is in the 70s. And she said, you need to go to Machu Picchu, which is why I dedicated my first book to her, because I finally got a chance to go to Machu Picchu, and I put a picture of Machu Picchu in the book. But I went to the school the next day, Rainbow Park Elementary in Opelika, Florida, down in Miami. And I told the teacher I need to go to the library, and I got all the Encyclopedia Britannicas, that's the original Google, on aerospace. So I can see if I can find anything as to what I saw in my backyard, and I didn't find it. But from that is where I began the rabbit hole journey into looking into aerospace technology. As I researched swept wing, delta wing, ICBMs, all these different technologies, submarines and SR-71 Blackbird, all this information I was researching, I became kind of a quasi-aerospace historian. That technology led me down to the rabbit hole of black budget technologies, and I started researching black budget or declassified technologies as well. And that's the original version of me that started looking into conspiracies and things like that.
Were you considered a nerd?
Yeah, I was considered a nerd.
So you were like in the library fascinated by this shit.
I loved it. Couldn't get enough of it.
I don't know if I've ever talked about this, but one time going to the dump, we used to go to the dump, and my grandpa would always stop off at this little store and grab a bottle of Old English, some sort of beer.
Okay.
I think it was Old English. I don't remember. Anyway, just this big 40 ounce of beer, and drive back to his house. And I'm driving in the passenger side, and I look out the window, dude, and there's like it looked see-through. It looked like a bubble.
Wow.
But there was a bubble driving just right along with us.
Wow.
Not 30 feet out the window, just following us. And as he's driving forward, I'm sitting there looking at this thing. I roll down the window thinking it's like a sunbeam or a reflection.
Yeah.
Dude, it was plain as day, man. About 30 feet out the window, our height, just cruising along. And I'm like, it's the craziest thing ever.
Yeah.
So I look at my grandpa and I'm like, what is that? And I look back, wasn't there anymore.
Yeah.
But I always wondered, what the hell was that? Because I saw it, dude. Yeah. It was weird.
It's wild. You just never know.
Yeah, so you were kind of not, you weren't running around telling everybody, all this stuff, or were you just nose in a book?
Talking to my mom, but most of the time I had my nose in a book. Manifest destiny, right? Or, manifesting reality. Just about a week later, who shows up at the door? It's an actual encyclopedia salesman. And back then, that's how they did it. They'd get the books in the house.
Sure.
And he gave my mom a credit and told her she had to pay, I don't know what it was, $10-15 a month or whatever it was. He came back for one payment and never came back again. I don't know if he quit or got fired, who knows? But we had the entire Encyclopedia Britannica. That became my school at home. So while I was in elementary school, I was going through all the encyclopedias, economics, biology, chemistry, all the different sciences, aerospace technology, Navy, marine technology, Marines and everything. It was incredible. It was incredible to go through all that. Of course, delving into the dinosaurs and all of this information. It was like a whole dream come true. I was in a world of my own inside these books.
So how do you discern what's truth and fiction?
That's hard to do because sometimes you can discern something that you feel is true, something that doesn't insult your soul. And then sometimes you may find out that it's not the full truth, or maybe there's something else that needs to be added to it to make it more complete. And that takes time, it takes research, and it's about connecting the dots.
Yeah.
So that takes a lot of time.
Well, I mean, I had a video go pretty viral when I said, what do you think Jesus would say about celebrating his birthday on December 25th when that wasn't even his birthday, number one. Number two, his name wasn't Jesus. No. And number three, I could just keep going. And it's like, listen, if people freak out when I say his name wasn't Jesus.
It wasn't.
It was not. No. And anyone can go back and look. And if you could appear right next to him on the street. Yeah. And said Jesus, he wouldn't, he might know because he knows everything. And he's supposedly, God. But to me, again, I don't necessarily think that's the truth. Why? Yeah. Well, because most people won't listen long enough to factor in what makes sense, because they always have some excuse to say, well, he works in mysterious ways. There's always some, like, I'll give you an example. There are people that agree with me, lots of them, and then people that don't agree with me. When I say Jesus wasn't God also, and they go, yeah, it was one and the same, and here's the scripture. And I say, well, then when he was carrying his cross and he fell down,
why did he call out to God?
Who was he talking to? Why would he ask himself, why have thou forsaken me? Yeah. Why would he ask himself that? Wouldn't he be aware of what's happening? Yeah. Wouldn't he be aware that, well, I'm sacrificing, we're sacrificing. Like there wasn't.
It's not congruent.
It's not congruent. It does. Yeah. It doesn't seem right. Why would he look up and go, why have you forsaken me if they were one and they knew? I mean, if I was some magical creator and I could split myself into the flesh, my flesh wouldn't all of a sudden be stupid.
Right.
My flesh wouldn't be disconnected to me.
That's correct.
Even though it was in the flesh, but I'm the one that created all this. You don't think I can pop myself out in the flesh? So maybe he was God or a piece of God. No, I think it's been translated throughout the years and misinterpreted, perhaps, because when he died, which there were over 400 witnesses of his resurrection. Yeah. I don't think anybody necessarily. Well, there's a lot of people that disagree that happened. I don't. I'll take everyone's word for it. I wasn't there, but I will take everyone's word for it. And then, if that's the case, who resurrected him?
Right. Exactly.
Well, God, he didn't resurrect himself. I don't even think it says he resurrected himself. Did he?
You're making all valid points here.
Well, again, I've looked this deep, dude. You've looked this deep, and whoever that dude you were arguing with seems to have looked as deep, or maybe deeper than you. How does he recall all of these without knowing the language? Answer that. How do you do it? Like, you're just taking someone's word for it, aren't you?
Yeah, you study, you research. There are different texts that you can read that gives you the transliteration, so you can kind of go back.
Someone made that, Billy.
But somebody, exactly what I'm saying.
So you have to say,
that's what I was
assuming this is what the truth is.
They're accurate.
Yeah, because what if they're full of shit too?
That's true. You never know. There are mistakes in books.
I know, but I'm going to end up in hell because some dickhead translated something incorrectly or changed something. Because, dude, there's omissions.
Yeah.
In the Bible, current Bibles are not the same as before. And people say, that's not true. It is true.
Oh, it's very true.
There's factual evidence you can compare, right?
Yeah, very true.
And then there's also transliteration, which gets confusing. Transliteration? What the hell's that? Yeah. Well, that's not translation.
Right. There's so much there. There's so much to break down. And like you said, there's so many versions of the text and so many interpretations. You know, do you believe there's a creator? Yeah. But you wouldn't say you're a Christian, though. No, I wouldn't say that I'm a Christian. I would say that I'm just a spiritual being. I just believe I'm a spiritual being. I believe I'm directly connected to Source, and I believe everyone is, not just me. I'm not a special person.
Again, dude, listen. If I'm a bad dude, because I agree, I do agree, but I also acknowledge and I believe there's something to the Jesus story. Yeah. Heavily. Yeah. Like I definitely think, and here's my question to you too. Wouldn't it be wiser to agree, just like hedging your bet type of thing? Because my logic says if it's true and you shunned him, you're done, bro. Right. If it's true and you shunned him, you're done. So if it's not true and you praised him or agreed and acknowledged, well, then nothing would happen if it's not true. Well, like your consequences are grim on one end and they're not bad on the other. So why wouldn't just people lean towards that just to be safe?
That's a good question. I have a little bit of a different view on that. I believe that that's a person making a decision based on fear. And I don't believe fear is love. I don't think that has anything to do with love. I think that's a person that's maybe just trying to save their own ass. So if I'm in a situation where I'm in a religion and I'm being told that if I don't do this specific thing or honor this specific person in a certain way, that I'm not going to make it to this magical heaven, and then I decide to do it just in case I want to squeeze in there, and I got to make sure I say it, repent one more time right before my final heartbeat so I can get in there, and just in case I did something wrong 5 minutes ago. It seems a little. It's hard for me to wrap my mind around that. Now, some people can wrap their mind around that. I just can't wrap my mind around that. I don't understand how somebody can go and kill my son, or maim my son, shoot my son, and put him in a wheelchair for the rest of his life. Right, for example, and my son can grow up now suffering in traumatic situation for his entire life, and the person that did that can at the last second say, "Oh, Jesus, forgive me my sins," and that person can go to heaven. But if my son didn't say anything like that, he can't go to heaven, supposedly. I just don't see a lot of logic in this thing. And maybe it's not supposed to have logic, but for me, I just can't wrap my mind around something like that. A person can go out there and kill 100 people in a church or wherever, and then he can at the last second say, "Forgive me for my sins. I praise you, Jesus, Lord and Savior," and then that person can just make it into heaven.
But interesting. But I don't think that's what what the scripture says.
That's what people keep telling me. All these people, they keep telling me, "You got it. This is how it works."
But you've read the Bible, so you know it doesn't say that. I don't think it says that anyway. I think
it doesn't say that, but this is the mindset of the people.
I would agree. That is what people think.
This is what they think. This is what the Bible says.
But they don't have their gospel armor on.
Yeah, right.
They need to do a little more research, because I don't believe it says that you can go be a murderer and then when you're done you say, "Hey, I repent." You have to, number one, be sincere. Number two, you are supposed to have done your best to build a relationship with the Creator.
Absolutely.
Now if the Creator, according to the scripture, says, "Hey, he chose that guy to follow. You're not getting to me unless it's through him." Well, number one, who's he talking about? What's his name? Well, his name was Yeshua. Yeah. So why are you calling him Jesus?
Right.
Well, that's because of a transliteration. So you're telling me that somebody had the authority to change the chosen one's name? Like, who had that authority?
Yeah.
Emperor Constantine, perhaps? Yeah. You're familiar with the Council of Nicaea?
Council of Nicaea, absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's where it all started to go a little
curveball. Did a lot of remixing.
And the best lie is 99% true. They just give you a little bit.
Yeah.
So here's something I'll warp. You may have thought of this, but this warps people's brains too. I say the 10 Commandments. One of them says, don't take the Lord's name in vain. Mm-hmm. Now, if you look up vain, it means to make meaningless or useless. Mm-hmm. So again, I just want to read it for what it says. Don't make my name meaningless. Mm-hmm. Don't make my name useless. Okay, well, how much more useless can you make a name by just not using it?
That's the worst you can do.
Yeah, so you're literally making it useless if you choose not to use it. So even back in those days, they didn't want you using his name, which is a direct violation of don't make it useless, because if you don't use it, it's useless.
That's why I try to say people, if you're not using the right name, then how can the name have any power?
You need the name, and it says give praise to his name and call upon his name, and it'd be pretty important to know his name, don't you think?
I think so.
If you want that kind of power.
I agree.
So at the end of the day, people will be like, oh, well, he knows his name. Well, dude, it's easy to brush off with comments like that, but like, look at what it says. Yeah. That's all I want to do is, what does it say? If it's supposedly translated correctly, it says, don't make my name meaningless and useless. And then we go and do it. Now, some people, which is logical, say, well, he wasn't talking about Jesus or Yeshua. He was talking about himself. Mm-hmm. So what's his name then?
Yeah.
Well, supposedly it's Yahuwah.
Yeah.
Well, if it's Yahuwah and his name was Yeshua, then a lot of scripture now makes sense to me, because some scripture says he will come in my name. Well, those names are pretty much one and the same. There's only a letter difference, or a little difference. And this name means this guy is Most High or whatever, God is salvation. Mm-hmm. So that makes sense.
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't want to get down that rabbit trail, because, who knows? Maybe everyone mistook aliens or advanced beings as gods. Mm-hmm. It's quite possible.
That's what I always say. Well, you're saying everything that I've been saying for a long time.
I'm not saying it just for the record. I'm questioning it.
No, you're questioning
I'm just trying to figure it out.
You're saying it in a way that makes such logical sense. What people took a video clip that I made saying the reason why you're not getting any result from your prayers is because you're calling on Jesus, but the name doesn't have any power because that's not his name. And they took that clip and edited it and turned it into this morphed thing. No, go look at the original clip. Did
it go viral?
Yeah, because these clowns or these people, I don't want to call them clowns, these people took it and did things with it. But I'm talking about, go look at the raw clip of me saying that. I'm literally saying, give the name, use the real name. The name is Yeshua, right? And then also, that
was his name, for the record, folks. You can look it up yourself. It's not him saying it. It's him saying it now, but it's also a fact.
It's a fact.
Well, here's what people say when I say that. You're crazy because I've seen demons cast out in that name. And here's what I say. Devil's got powers too.
Yeah.
So again, if I wanted to trick you, make you use a different name, and then not give that name any power, that would be foolish of me, wouldn't it?
Yep.
So maybe I gave that name power too, but it's not the same power you're thinking, because he wants to deceive you. Yeah. And folks, it could be a deception. Mm-hmm. And if you read scripture and you're so damn holy about it, well, then guess what? It even says we'll be deceived. You know what the scripture says? I don't know exactly, but it says, it's in Revelation somewhere, and it says the whole world will be deceived.
Yeah.
Well, that includes me. That includes you. That includes whoever's watching this. So the scripture says we'll be deceived.
Yeah.
Why isn't it that? Mm-hmm. Well, why do you act like, well, nope, that's what he said. That's what I'll do. The letter J didn't even exist until like the 14th, 15th century.
You said it, not me. I said this before in the podcast. Everybody got crazy.
Well, get crazy on me, because I can just go back to facts. The facts are the J didn't even exist, so it wasn't Jesus. Yeah. Well, that's a translation of the word Iesus. Iesus was his name, and that was a transliteration of the name Yeshua, supposedly. But my question is, why didn't they transliterate the other Yeshuas that existed? Because he ain't the only one.
They're trying to make up fake letters now. Oh, there's some J that existed in Hebrew. There was no. They're just making things up now.
And there were also other Yeshuas.
Yeah.
That was a name like Bob.
Right.
So why are they now Joshua?
Right.
Well, because that's what happened to that name. Well, then why did his name change completely?
Yeah.
Maybe it was intended to be changed. Mm-hmm. Maybe we wanted you just a little bit off.
Yeah.
Why? Well,
Where's that power?
you don't know you're doing it, but you're making his name useless.
Yeah.
And no one can argue that, because that is the literal definition of useless. If I don't use it, I'm making it useless, which I'm now directly violating a 10 commandment, which could be a trick. Now, do I think everyone that's saying Jesus is going to hell? No, I do not. I believe, and this may be incorrect, that your intent and your spirit is going to determine. You're either good or you're not. We all sin, so you're not sinless. There was only one of those. So I believe that like, you know, when someone says, God damn it, that's not taking the Lord's name in vain. God's not even a name. It's a title. Number two, damn it isn't what vain means, like most people think. Useless. So he's saying, don't make my name useless. Yeah. So that begs the question, well, then what's his name? So I don't.
Well, yeah, if you look
not use it.
Let's look at some neuroscience that I learned when I took those classes at MIT.
Okay.
So they talk about the fact that words actually have power.
They do, and we all know that.
These are the top brains. This is a PhD professor telling us this. This is not Billy Carson telling you this. And there are many experiments that have been done with cymatic frequencies. Those are the sounds and frequencies that come from speakers, your vocal cords, or anything else. Everything makes a cymatic frequency or vibration. And they've proven now that those vibrations help create the reality that we're living in.
Which is crazy, because Scripture says he spoke it into existence.
In the beginning was the Word. That word is a frequency vibration. That's factual. So now you look at this frequency and this vibration. You say, okay, well, who has done it? Well, Dr. Matsuru Emoto, bless his soul, he's passed away with us now, but unfortunately he's gone. But anyway, he did an experiment on water. And he took these jars of water.
I read that book.
Right. Yes, you read the book. Fantastic. And he put the word, I love you, I hate you, blessings. All right. They would take droplets of water out and put them under a microscope the next day and look at them and photograph them. The positive vibration, I love you, and meditating or praying over water gave it a crystallized form. Look, Christ consciousness, look crystallized. And then the ones where I hate you or negative, they were malformed. They didn't even form into crystals. Some even looked dirty. And this was replicated over and over again. And what's your body made of? Water. Okay.
And what do those plasmoids in the sky look like?
Yeah, exactly.
Water.
Yeah.
So do you think we went to the moon?
I believe that we went to the moon, but I also believe we lied about it. I believe it's a twofold explanation. I did a blog on that, which I don't know how many millions of views it got, because I brought up a lot of good information from both sides of the coin to give people a better perspective as to what may have really happened.
Do you believe that we're hurling through space?
I do believe that we're hurling through space.
So how come the stars never change?
Well, the actual stars do change. It's called the precession of the equinoxes.
What do you mean? It's been the same skies for thousands of years. Well, North Star's never moved.
Well, they move across the sky.
North Star doesn't move.
North Star doesn't move. That's a star that stays in one place. But I do believe that we're moving through space, and that the precession of the equinoxes is the constellations moving across the sky every 25 to 27,000 years. I do believe that we're spinning on a planet that's a globe that's on an axis. I believe that it's orbiting the sun. That's just my personal belief.
What if you found out differently?
If I found out differently, then I would change my view on it. I would definitely change my view.
I always wonder, well, what do those flat earthers think that there's some big conspiracy to think we're all on a globe?
Yeah.
Well, the only one that's made sense is if it's a good versus evil fight, which again may very well be, like supposedly there's battles going on that we have no understanding of.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, a lot of the flat earthers think, well, because if you knew we were under a dome, like a legitimate dome, how much more likely are you to be religious? And when I say religious, faith-based, I should say, because religion's not the same thing to me.
Right.
I would say a lot more. Like if I knew for a fact, like I somehow went up and touched it and I'm like, holy shit, dude, we are under a dome. All that's bullshit.
Yeah.
I would totally that would be a big piece of evidence to me.
Yeah, of course that would. But yeah, there's been, people don't trust NASA. Okay, that's fine. Don't trust NASA. But there's billions of dollars being spent by private corporations and private individuals and even college students that have raised funds and send satellites and so forth up into space. There's a lot of data. There's a lot of material out there that has nothing to do with NASA or the European Space Agency or the China Space Agency. that shows scientific experiments that have happened, that are happening currently right now, including Starlink, which is amazing technology by Elon Musk, which I have Starlink.
I need to get Starlink.
I'm sailing down the Nile in October, and I'm on 125 megabit per second connection through a satellite that's orbiting our planet. Beautiful technology. So yeah, I do believe that we're living on a globe that has space and that has satellites orbiting it, that has a moon and everything else. This is my personal belief based on what I understand about general physics.
Well, for the record, if anyone wants to think, what's Brad think? Is he a flat earther? No, I'm not a flat earther, but I'm open to listening. Why? Because, dude, there's some questions I got.
Yeah.
Like there's airplanes where like they've tracked an airplane, and if they were up 6 hours and yada, 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 and they had to land in an emergency, why would they land where they landed? If it was an emergency, they would have landed somewhere else. And then when you put that flight line on a flat earth map, it goes a straight ass line, and it makes perfect sense where they landed, because if I was flying a straight ass line, that's where I would have landed. And it's like, well, how do you explain that? Like, no one ever explains those. And then the way the algorithm works is if you watch a video, it thinks that you're interested. So now I'm getting served up flat earther videos.
Yeah.
And then I'm also served up fake moon landing videos.
Yeah.
Dude, whatever footage I'm looking at is not, we did not do that shit. It's like, who's taking the picture, all the questions that are out there, it all leans towards, dude, that was a lie. Now, whether we had since, I don't know. Whether there's orbits, well, they say there are. I don't know. I've never been up there.
Yeah.
So I'm open, but I'm also a little skeptical with anything the government. Why? Well, because, dude, if you don't think the government is not
they're not our best buddies.
Yeah, they're not there to protect you.
No.
Okay. They're matter of fact, the CIA, which I'm trying to get this guy from the CIA in here. Yeah. Have you watched Lioness? Do you watch TV at all? I love
Lioness.
Dude, Lioness was amazing. So badass.
And very, very, very exposing as well.
Exactly. Like, dude, the CIA's like powerful.
Yeah.
And then what did Kennedy say? He said, I'm going to disband that sucker big time.
That's right.
And then all of a sudden he gets whacked, and people don't think that was the government or the CIA whacking his ass.
Directly connected.
Dude, it's been proven. Yeah. It's been proven. Like, nobody questions it anymore. Just like the government said there are aliens, or now they're calling them UAPs for some reason. Why do you think that is?
Well, they're taking control of the narrative. So if you call it a UFO, they had already stigmatized UFO as a tinfoil hat wearing crazy person. So now they can't use the same term that they've put this label on, so they change it to UAP. Right, unidentified aerial phenomenon, so they can take control of the narrative, so they can admit, yes, that these things exist. Yes, they can outmaneuver us. Yes, they can break the laws of gravity.
Which they've admitted.
They've admitted. They even said that we have bodies not of this world, and we have the crash retrievals as well. So they've been taking these things in when they do crash and reverse engineering them.
See, and I believe that.
Yeah.
Why? Well, because, dude, I believe it. That's why. I mean, I don't believe it so strongly. I will refuse to change my mind. But right now I'm leaning towards that's the truth.
Yeah. Well,
what do you think's going on with all these drones in the sky that they don't know what they are?
Yeah, they know what those are now.
They have to, or they wouldn't be shooting them down.
Yeah, exactly. Those they know. Now, these drones were probably experimental drones. They're the size of SUVs, supposedly. They're running in this grid pattern. I believe that it's some type of a technology that was probably built by a private contractor for the Pentagon, which they do things with no congressional oversight, which explains why local governments would have no clue what the hell these things were even doing or what they were. They were probably running a test, running some scans, doing some grid patterns, and also testing out the responses from the civilians. What are they going to do? What is the news going to do? What are the police going to do? How are they going to respond to this? Are they going to panic and run to the streets? Kind of like a psyop. So it's a little bit of a combination of a twofold reason why they did it. At the end of the day, those things were created by human beings, not aliens.
Yeah, or they'd shoot them down or do something. They wouldn't just sit there and be, we don't know what they are. And they're going over Air Force bases. Like, shut the hell up. Man. You know exactly what they are, and you're allowing them to be there because we're not stupid.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's like, see, stuff like that. It's like, come on, you don't know what they are. They're going over a sensitive Air Force base and you're allowing it. Stop.
Classified airspace. And the reason why they're doing this UAP thing also is because they need money. all the big wars are almost over. So there's no other places to bring democracy to. We've already brought democracy to everywhere and turned them into dust. And so now where's this money? Where's the trillions of dollars that the Pentagon gives out to these private contractors? The next big money-making grab is going to be the space race. Not to travel to space, but to actually capitalize on space weaponry. Research and R&D, research and development on space weapons. So what they're going to do, in my opinion, is they're going to utilize these UAPs, one that they've created and built themselves, to do a Gulf of Tonkin incident, like they used to get into the Vietnam War, attack one of our own ships and then claim it was them, and then we're going to go to war for 20 years. So they'll probably have a UAP attack a Navy vessel or some other base, shoot at us or something, our own stuff, shooting at ourselves, and then claim it's aliens. And now we need to funnel trillions of dollars into the space weaponry, which is going to give these private contractors billions and trillions of dollars, which they'll develop some things. Most of them they'll never develop. Most of them will never see the light of day. They do this now. The government will give a contractor like Lockheed Martin, they'll give them $5 billion. Say, build this fighter jet. They'll start working on this experimental hypothetical fighter jet, never really build it, just kind of lay it out a little bit. 10 years, actually another $5 billion. Expense it all out in payroll and C-suite executives taking home these multi-million-dollar paychecks. And then 5 years later, they say, oh, this one didn't work out. We need another $10 billion to work on a new one. And they just keep siphoning money that way. They do develop some things, but some things never see the light of day, and that's the actual plan. And the people that issue these contracts out to them get that submarine money for giving them the contract.
See, to me, again, people say, oh, that's conspiracy. Dude, that's what's going on with business. Wars and all kinds of shit.
Yeah, that's business.
You know, I'm going to go blow up a country and then send my brother-in-law over there with his rebuilding tools and award him contracts, and he's going to kick me back money.
Dick Cheney.
So it's just straight up embezzlement from the U.S. government. And then everyone wants to label them conspiracy theories. Yeah. Well, I think we're screwed in that regard because, dude, the U.S. Constitution says we the people in the beginning. Mm-hmm. I always tell people there's no we the people anymore because we have no way to communicate and agree and prove that we did. Mm-hmm. They do. Who's they? The government. The government holds their meetings, comes out and says, here's what everybody voted. The people you elected, giving us the illusion of choice, when in reality, they elected whatever they wanted to elect. And we have proof, so we have to abide by it because we've all agreed to be civil and abide by the law, which we all agree there should be. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, we, the people, don't have any way to communicate and do the same thing, which means we cannot prove that we all agree.
That's right.
And if we can't all agree, then we don't exist as a we, even though it was written assuming we would always be a we. Yeah. And there's no we anymore.
There's no we.
Because if there was a we, I could say, what do we think about this? And we could prove what we think, even if it's majority.
Exactly.
But we can't. Yeah. So there's no we.
There's no we. It's an illusion of choice.
It's an illusion.
A complete illusion. Voting for a president. No, I did a whole video on this. Nobody votes for the president. If you think you're voting for the president, you haven't done your research.
You're voting for an electorate.
You're voting for an electorate. Exactly. And and nobody knows who the hell those people are. Have you ever seen one of their faces? We don't know. And guess what? Many times in history, those electorates don't have to take the popular vote. They can vote opposite of the popular vote for that state and give the vote to somebody else, which has happened at least 7 times. So somebody can become the president, which I think was Bush was the most recent one probably, or Trump was one of the previous presidency, where the popular vote didn't really won, but didn't really win because they gave it to the other person because of the electoral college vote. So the electoral college picks the president. You vote for the electorate. You don't vote for the president. You have the illusion of choice. And you'll die for these people. You'll fight for these people, but you're not really picking these people, which is why every 4 years I go into the voting booth and I put my name on the ballot line. I vote for myself. I'm the president. Period, point blank. That's how I see it. Because no matter who's in that office over there, I still got to run my family and take care of my household. And at the end of the day, I'm going to navigate this matrix and I'm going to make it happen. I take full control over myself and my life and my decisions, and take full responsibility for all my mistakes and all my good things as well.
Well, how do you make money? Like, how do you make money?
Well, I make money several different ways. One way is on the stock market. I taught a huge stock options training course years ago, and I still have students today that contact me and say, man, I'm still living the life because of what you taught me in that stock options, a 6-hour master class that I taught. And so every day I'll play on the stock market, and I make quite a bit of money on the stock market every day in trading option calls. That's my thing. I love the options calls. I'm not so much into swing trading, but I love options calls because I've become pretty instinctive, intuitive at it, and pretty damn good. $100,000 days, you can do those days. I've done those days many times. And then also I have my company, Forbidden Knowledge. And Forbidden Knowledge is not just making social media posts. We have a huge conglomerate. So we have a book publishing company. We have now 10 books in publication. 5 of them are bestsellers, which is amazing to have half of your books in publication as bestsellers already. And we're signing on new authors. We have a music label, a record label, which has produces licensed music for TV shows, documentaries.
What kind of music?
It's conscious music on 432 hertz. But some of it sounds like hip hop, but it's really teaching you knowledge. It sounds more like trap music,
like
even.
Binaural beats.
Not binaural beats exactly, but the frequency of the music is tuned to 432 because that's better for the human body. 440 hertz is what's mostly on the radio, which is actually detrimental to DNA in the human body. This is scientific study, so we tuned it to 432 hertz.
Well, let's talk frequency for a minute. Mm-hmm. Well, keep going as to what you do. What else you do?
So we do the music. Then we also have our tours. So we do world tours, take people all over the world to ancient sites and civilizations and take them to meet indigenous cultures and homegrown guides and homegrown archaeologists so they can get experience the world from a different perspective.
That sounds cool.
That's really cool.
So people just pay for a trip.
Yep,
and you're the guide and host.
Absolutely. That's right. We just took 100 people to Egypt.
Egypt.
Yeah.
Are you worried about safety and liability?
No, we have armed guards with us at all times. We have armed guards on our buses. We have military escorts and police escorts everywhere we go.
How big are the groups?
100 people on this last tour to Egypt just in October. Yeah.
So it's almost like a educational journey.
It's an educational journey. They're getting really taught. They're getting taught real information, hands-on, on-site, picking, touching.
Look for yourself. You're like, look for yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Here's the tool marks. Look at the tool mark. Take a photo with your cell phone right now. Look at this tool mark.
Are you exploring any new places, or are they already pre-planned and I can choose?
We have some new places coming up. Peru is coming up for the first time in July of this year. First time taking people on a tour of Peru. We have
you going to Machu Picchu?
Machu Picchu. I can't wait to take them there. Machu Picchu. Some people get a chance to fly over the Nazca Lines, Ollantaytambo, Sacsayhuaman, Sacred Valley.
Have you searched for the Megalamembe?
The Megalamembe. No, we haven't searched for that.
There's some mythical monster or something. I don't know.
We haven't searched for that.
So you make money a bunch of ways.
A bunch of ways, yeah. Then we also have our e-commerce for our product line. I'm wearing my products right now. Shirts and blazers and watches, and I don't have my watch on today, but we have watches and shoes and everything else, and workout clothes and fitness outfit and hiking clothes, which does really, really well. And then we have our TV network, our streaming TV network, which is only $8.88 a month, $8.88, and it's just like a conscious Amazon Prime or conscious Netflix, and it generates a lot of revenue.
Would people say that is a conspiracy channel?
No, they wouldn't, because there's so much stuff on there. Ancient civilizations.
Are you conspiracy a lot or no?
Not really. I don't believe that I'm conspiracy a lot. I'm not like going, oh my God, this is,
Did you get that?
Yeah.
Did you get the old?
Oh, no. Didn't do the Jabberwowski.
Did you know that was nonsense from the get-go?
Oh, beginning, from the very first second. I already saw it.
Me too.
Create the problem. Look for the reaction, provide the solution. That's their technique.
Not only that, they were begging people.
Oh, they had the gas pump they're begging.
They were saying, hey, is there a cheeseburger involved with this? Is there fries too?
One state was giving out guns.
That's stupid.
I mean, come on. It was ridiculous.
That means wait a minute. You want me to do this way too badly. That's weird.
Yeah. The whole thing was a scam. But that's how we generate a lot of revenue. All those combination of things.
And obviously your social media presence drives a lot of it.
Yeah.
Do you ever do paid ads? Are there businesses that you own that nobody knows, or
we have a lot of businesses that nobody knows? Yeah, a lot of business. We have 140 social media accounts combined.
When you go around places, are there dangerous nut jobs wanting to kill you because you don't agree with them, or
we've gotten a lot of death threats. So everywhere I go, including out here right now, I have an armed guard with me.
He's out there.
He's out there. Yeah. I go armed everywhere myself as well. If I could take it to a particular state. If I don't, my guy has that. And then, the people that we meet are a lot of great, incredible people. Very rarely do I meet somebody that is absolutely crazy, but I've had to put a couple of restraining orders out on some people.
Oh, they're out there, dude.
We've had people show up at our office just recently due to this whole crazy thing that happened. People trying to find our address to come to our house. And we have over 1,000 death threats. We had to register them with the FBI. We had to register them with the police department recently. This is just happening within the last few weeks, and some people try to show up at our office. Or they showed up at the office, but I wasn't there. But yeah, so you get these zealots.
Anytime you give alternative information, you're going to get that.
Are you going to get it? It's all part of the.
But you're also going to get a whole bunch of people buying books and trips, and so you love it when something goes viral.
I love it when something goes viral. I mean, this last thing that kind of went viral, it painted me in a very bad light, the way it was contrived. And some people don't like the way I say that, but it's true. But I believe that, now my positive commentary and my positive information that's gone viral is well over 1 billion views. If you add all those clips up from all of time, over 1 billion views. And everywhere I go, people love me. It's only been a couple of situations, but I rarely run into anyone that hates me. People are just happy to see me, happy to meet me, shake my hand, take a selfie with me. I had a book signing a few months back.
But look at our society too. Yeah. The Hawk Tua girl can say the same thing.
Oh, that's true too. Hey, it is what it is. I'll take the love over hate any single day though. When somebody's not coming to me to try to kill me, I'm kind of happy.
Well, dude, my thing with you is you talk about many things. So I don't know how specific you are in all those things because you talk about so many things.
Thank you for bringing that up. I talk about a huge range of topics, which is why I've been on over 1,000 shows, because they can't put me in a box. So this recent thing that happened, somebody's trying to put me in a box and say that because I think that I didn't agree with this guy's answers on these 3 questions, everything he says is no good. You got to be kidding me. There's a reason why Avi Loeb, the professor of astrophysics at Harvard University, has given me a review, which is on the back of my book, Fractal Holographic Universe. There's a reason why that Fractal Holographic Universe book is #1 in quantum theory at one point, and was also #1 in fractal mathematics, and also #5 in science and philosophy, ahead of Michio Kaku. That doesn't happen by accident. And it's not just because my people are buying the books. People are buying the book that are finding me for the first time, which is incredible. That's why I love putting books out, because people find you and versus you having to go find them. And so there's a reason why this is happening. There's a reason why my book, Woke Doesn't Mean Broke, which is a financial literacy book, not the conscious woke. This is talking about you just being awakened and being an awakened individual, how to connect spirituality with finance and learn it. It has been a bestseller in 4 countries. Most of which people who don't even know who the heck I am, and allowed me to become a contributor to Entrepreneur Magazine because of that book, which I contribute to Entrepreneur on a regular basis.
Are you writing them yourself or ghostwriting?
I write them myself. I write them all myself. And this is all pre-GBT, which I love. Nobody can say, man, this is a ChatGPT book. No, these books are all written pre-ChatGPT.
Yeah. Well, I wrote a book, and, you can tell I wrote it because it's totally me. But someone wanted me to ghostwrite it, and I'm like, dude, that's not me writing a book. So how am I going to go out and say I wrote a book if I didn't write the book? And they're like, well, ghostwriters I'm like, who wrote the book?
Yeah.
He did, but he interviews you and then he goes and writes it. Well, then if I do that, if anybody ever sees me do that, you'll know it's a ghost written book based on my memory recall.
It's better to tell them. Just tell them.
I think, especially if you want to be real, because my whole brand's real.
Yeah, exactly.
But in the real, there's frequency based beliefs that I have. So I want to go back to frequency.
Yeah.
Because 432 megahertz or whatever those frequencies are, there's sounds that can heal your body.
That's true.
Like there's factual evidence of this.
Yeah.
So, and we're all frequencies. Mm-hmm. I mean, we're all in motion.
We're all vibrating.
And that vibrational frequency is like, we may not be able to hear it or see it, but it's there.
Oh, it's there.
You can't see a sound wave, but you're getting them.
That's right.
So, I mean, at the end of the day, we are all frequencies. Mm-hmm. And I think there's something to that frequency thing. And I think that's quantum. Like if we just shifted over and realized, all you have to do is tune into this frequency and you get anything you want and you become enlightened and you become, wonderful and you can attract whatever you want. I believe in that.
I believe in that wholeheartedly.
So, but there's a lot of people that like, they're down here in this frequency of despair and depression and confusion and anxiety and fear and doubt and worry.
Low frequencies.
Yeah, they're low frequencies. Yeah. Well, if high frequencies is love and joy and certainty and enthusiasm and excitement and gratitude and authenticity and all the good ones, and these are the low ones, if you were to put that scale next to the heavens and earth, think about it like these are the heavenly frequencies and these are the earthly material frequencies. Well, these are negative. Well, they're earthly. Doesn't the earth belong to Satan according to scripture?
According to the scripture, it does.
Okay. Well, then wouldn't it make sense that earthly vibrations are frickin' negative?
Well, if you're down in that frequency, you're gonna have more problems for every solution. You're gonna continue to attract problem after problem after problem. I have people that sometimes they would call me, and every time they call me, they have a negative thing to say, another problem, another issue, and I get to the point I just block them. Because you're bringing that virus over to me, and I don't want it. You stay down there. I've given you some suggestions. I've tried to help you out a few times, and you're staying in that vibration. I even tell you, if you're gonna call me every single time with something bad, I don't want to hear it every time. Call me sometimes with good news. You can call me with some issues, but call me with good news too. And if they do that over and over again, I just block them. I don't want to hear from them ever again.
Yeah, because, I tricked myself into being grateful every morning for just being alive. Yeah. So then I'm not expecting anything. Right. Why? Well, dude, I'm grateful for just getting the day. Yeah. And then, so the gratitude's up here on the scale. So automatically I'm up here and then I just spend the day trying to stay there by getting rid of the negative people and the bullshit and being open and kind and generous. And so I'm walking around with this vibrational frequency that's bringing me all kinds of prosperity, and everybody else is out there. Times are tough. For who? For who? You. Why? Well, because you are the key. You have to turn around and realize, dude, you're in the wrong frequency. You're not going to get out of a negative frequency with negative frequency.
Not going to happen. They don't realize that in some ways they have to save themselves.
100%.
If you're waiting around for someone to knock on your door and bail you out, it's just not going to happen in most cases. Sometimes it can happen miraculously, and we'll take that. But in most cases, it's going to be you that's going to get you out of your situation, and it takes a shift in your mind, a shift in your vibration.
Everybody better pay attention to that one. The other day I had a video go viral because I said on a podcast I was on, because I mess with Chat GPT all the time, because to me it's just an insta search, meaning it's going to search all the information and spit out the findings quick. Google just displays them. It thinks and talks. But I said, if you were Satan, what would you do to stop someone from being successful? And it said, number one, I'd fill their minds with doubt and fear. Number two, I would distract them with instant gratification. Number three, I would surround them with negative influence and environments. Number four, I would give them a victim mentality. Boom. Number five, I'd keep them comfortable. Number six, I would make them believe that they had to learn everything. Endless planning, procrastination, just they can't make a move. Number seven, I'd erode their confidence. And by the way, it said more than this. It say like whispering this to them and whispering that. And like, I've heard those whispers. And 8, I would make them focus on external things, not internal. Boom. And I want them to have poor habits, especially health. And I want them to believe that there is no urgency. And I'm like, whoa, dude, I got the chills. Why? Because I've been there. Does that mean Satan had a grasp of me? No, not necessarily. Maybe, but it definitely resonated with me because I've heard those thoughts. I've had victim mentality, and in reality, if you want to be successful, reverse engineer that. Get rid of the doubt and fear. Realize things take time. Eliminate negative people and environments. Get rid of your victim mentality. Understand that you are the one that's responsible. Period. And I can even back it up with evidence. Tell me if you disagree. The only reason I'm saying it in front of you is because if you disagree, I want to hear it. Here's how I prove that theory. If I walk into a room and say something to you so rude, everybody watching, a jury of 12 would understand if you punched me in the face and wouldn't convict you because it was that rude. You get me?
Yeah.
I say something so rude to you, everyone would agree that you should punch me for it. If I said that to you and you get pissed off and punched me, who made the choice to punch me?
I did.
Okay, so you're responsible.
That's right.
I didn't make you choose that. I can't make you choose that.
Can't.
You chose it. You decided to choose it. So it's your responsibility for punching me. Your choice was to punch me. And then I took out my gun and I shot you because you punched me. And now you're dead. Whose fault was it? Well, if I didn't say what I said, you wouldn't have punched me.
Right.
There's people that think that.
Yeah.
And it's like, it doesn't matter that I said what I said.
No.
He shouldn't have punched me. He should have you could have chose to laugh and give me a hug.
That's true.
And maybe the outcome would be different. But my point is we make our own choices. They've been trying to get control of our minds for a long time. I don't know if they've successfully done it. We hear about MK Ultra and all this shit. But to my knowledge, they don't have robots walking around with control of their minds. So if they can't control my mind, well, then I'm in control. Boom.
That's bomb.
That's right. If people understood what that means, then they are responsible. And if I'm responsible, I just got rid of victim mentality.
That's it. It's gone. So you have to move away from victim mentality, which is PTSD, and move into something called PTG, post-traumatic growth. We all are traumatic. We all have traumas. Even I just recently had a trauma. Even though this thing, I'm used to going viral, but I'm not used to having a lot of negative viral and all these attacks and all these death threats, right? So I had to get myself out of the victim mindset because I slipped into it and I had to realize, oh, wait a minute. Okay, I see now. This is designed for me to grow from it, not to sink deeper into it, not to allow it to devour me, because people will let this kind of stuff devour them. So I slipped from having a PTSD moment and moved myself, shifted my frequency back into PTG, post-traumatic growth, which is what I'm on now, baby. And I ain't stopping, and nobody's going to stop me. I'm growing and growing and growing and learning and learning. You have to come to the understanding that this life is 100% your responsibility, period, point blank. All right? People are out here.
Like, dude, that's the bottom line.
They're out here trying to relinquish all of their things that they've done, everything, that decision they make, all the things they've done wrong, all the mistakes they've made to something on the outside, instead of, like you said, go within, look in the mirror, talk to yourself. And I think the biggest thing people have to do to get past the victim mentality is just learn how to forgive themselves. I think it's important.
Which is harder than people think.
It's listen to me. That's hard. Looking at yourself and sitting with yourself and dealing and talking back to your own self, for a lot of people, is not easy.
Dude, if you read my book, I teach people how to get confidence. Number one step, forgive yourself.
Boom.
And it's not easy to do, but people need to forgive themselves in order to build the confidence, because a lot of people are come to me when they want to build their net worth. And I say, dude, if you want to build your net worth, you got to build your self-worth. You have to value yourself more. The reason you're making $20 an hour is because you only value yourself at $20 an hour. Offer me $20 an hour job, come work for you right now. Hell no. Why? I ain't working for $20 an hour. You know who you're talking to? Like, I value myself more. Well, how do you just do that? It's called work. It's called get some experience. It's called grow, get some skills. You know, skills is just repetition. Like, this isn't rocket science. A live viewer says Philippians 2:10, that at the name of Jesus, every knee should bow, of things in heaven and things in earth and things under the earth, and that every tongue should confess that Jesus Christ, I'm sure if it continued,
King of Kings, Lord of Lords,
is the King. Well, again, see, what she doesn't understand is, that's what it says, all right, but did it say that 1,000 years ago or 600 years ago?
Nobody knows.
It didn't say that. It said Yahshua. At some point, that said Yahshua. You know, go back. Don't read today's and act like that's the word. Well, dude, I promise you, that is a version of the word. Even the King James version. I'm like, why would he get his own version? And then, because he was the king. And if he said what goes, and that's what went. So guess what? We're reading King James version hundreds of years later. acting like that's what it said. Well, go look before the King James Version in order to make the King James Version. What did it say there? Yeah. Because eventually, if you go back far enough, Billy, it says it does not say that because his name wasn't Jesus, so it couldn't have said that. So it actually, even if everything else was right, it would say that at the name of Yeshua, every knee should bow. It didn't say Jesus. We put that word in there.
Yeah, I know.
As humans.
Yeah.
And again, who's got that authority to change the name?
They change it in a lot of places, unfortunately. So it's up for us to have a lot of discernment. Like I always say, I think there's a lot of great stuff in the Bible and a lot of stuff that if you apply it to your life, you're going to get a positive result. There's a lot of good history in the Bible as well. There's lots of video. Matter of fact, the number one video that I have on X, which is pinned, it's been there for a very long time. You can see the date on it. And it says, I'm telling people that I'm not an atheist. I actually believe in God, and I believe in the creator of the universe. And I explain that the mathematics and everything else proves that we're living in a creation. There's no way to escape this. If you were a CSI agent looking for the crime of creation and you needed a fingerprint, the fingerprint is in Fibonacci sequence.
Yep.
It's in the pi, right? Pi. It's in the.
It's in your fingerprint.
It's in the fingerprint. It's in the fractal Mandelbrot set by Benoit Mandelbrot. It's in all these things. So this is a combination of the DNA of the creator left behind as a print on this entire universe.
So obviously you've stated on this episode of dropping knowledge now, we're no longer the B word.
I love it.
I'll be the only B word involved from now on. Dropping knowledge. You stated that you do believe we have a God, we have a creator. There is a creator. Have you ever, if I went and studied all your content, have you said that before?
Oh, many times before.
So why are people all acting like you don't believe?
Well, a certain group of people want to manipulate the situation for the purpose of clout chasing and building up themselves to get to a specific level, because what they were doing before obviously wasn't working. So by taking the name of somebody that's a public figure that has made it and being able to, now the new thing online is to attack big figures and try to make it controversial so that you can generate the algorithm that then now pushes you up, which it worked. They got themselves up there, But like I always say, beware of becoming a public figure, because everything you've done in the dark will come to light.
So I'm sure you're referring to the dude's argument. And I think what the internet believes in loosely said, because there's people that don't, I'm sure, that he caught you up. Like you said something and he contradicted it somehow.
Well, I showed up at a place fresh out the hospital from the pneumonia. I still had the IV bandage in my arm, which you can see in the video. Now, what happens when you have pneumonia? Pneumonia attacks what? The lungs, right? So when you attack the lungs, I only had 20% oxygen transport. This is before I had the near-death experience a week prior. 20% oxygen transport during my hardest phase of the pneumonia. What does the brain need? The brain needs oxygen. Now, I actually answered the questions appropriately, but you can clearly see in the video, I wasn't myself, which is why I abruptly stopped.
Why don't you just do it again?
Well, you know what? That's a possibility, but as of right now, I just feel like I'm just adding more. I'm producing a TV series, and this TV series is really it's a series of my life, my whole journey. So it's a fictional series based on reality. And now I'm thinking, I'm just going to add this in there. This is another part of my journey.
But why don't you just get back on another one with him? Matter of fact, we can do it right here. I'll bring him in. Me and you and him will talk. I'll be the voice of reason, because he's obviously convinced, you're convinced, and I got questions. So it'll be a good episode.
It's a possibility. It's something to definitely look at. It's a possibility. So I have to talk to my team. I'm a PR person. Right now, we're just trying to move past the foolishness, stop feeding the foolishness, because I really do think it's foolishness. I walked into a situation where they claimed that I knew that this was going on, and I actually didn't know anything. I thought I was just coming in to have a conversation with my friend around the corner, a guy who I thought was my friend.
You guys knew each other before?
Not this guy, but the guy the house I was in was somebody that I actually knew around the corner from my house. And I just literally walked around the corner. But anyway, so
I'd use it if I'm your PR guy. I'd use it to your advantage. Why? Because dude, it'll blow up.
Oh, I know it'll blow up.
And it'll get lots of views. And you know what happens? a lot of people come thinking, oh, now everyone's going to see he's full of shit. When in reality, a whole bunch go, he's got a point.
Oh, I know.
And then they go do their own research and they're like, actually,
this has gained me so many more followers already.
Yeah.
Our following has gone up 25% across the board from this thing.
Dude, that's what hate does. Like, these haters talk shit and they don't realize you're fueling the algorithm, and it actually gets the opposite achieved.
Yeah.
So if you actually want less people to talk about him and less people to platform him, you know what you would do? You wouldn't talk about him and you wouldn't comment. You'd just let his video just go, let it go. Yeah. That's what I tell haters, because haters that go, Brad, you never let the guest talk, boom. Yeah. Algorithm just kicked in. Yeah. Thank you, Dick. Even though they don't realize that this isn't a, even though I do have a few questions I want to ask. It's conversation. And in real life, dude, conversations get stepped on. Yeah. I'll say something and you'll have something to interject and you'll just start talking. You're not going to wait politely for me to finish. Right. And not only that, I forget shit. Mm-hmm. Like I almost forgot frequency, but I wrote it down. Right. Because I think it's important that people understand, dude, this is a world of frequencies. And if you can figure out how to tune your frequency, you can get anything you want in life. That's a fact.
Anything. Literally anything.
So, but bringing up that dude, so what do you think was the biggest truth bomb you dropped that might have been overshadowed by the controversy? Like, what did you say that, like, everyone should have been paying attention to what you did say that was fact?
I think a lot of what I was trying to say was cut off or cut out. There was a disconnection of the video feed several times when I was talking.
Oh, they cut it out.
Yeah. So I don't think that the whole thing, and I haven't gone through and watched all these videos. I have a team of people, and I let them go through this stuff. I don't go through this stuff. I don't watch these videos. I don't look at them. I get a few transcripts here and there, but I really don't pay attention to them because it's just draining to go through the foolishness. But my point that I was just trying to make was that they're trying to make hard statements that I was saying, this is what it is and this is the way it is, but I wasn't. What I was trying to show is that there's a lot of discrepancies in the biblical text that can be questioned and dating back to more ancient texts, and that these texts are connected to ancient texts, that they're derived from a lot of ancient tablets, specifically even like the Sumerian tablets. And I got contacted after this whole situation went down. Like I said, I got a group of real doctors and real PhDs, and meaning, because I don't think this guy was a PhD, maybe not yet. But I have some real doctors and real PhDs and real academics and theologists that are coming on a roundtable discussion to break every aspect of it down. And these are real professionals, experts for decades. So I'm looking forward to that. That's going to be pretty cool. And they don't agree with everything that I say, just like you don't agree with everything I say. But you know what also I like about this conversation that we're going to have? It's going to show that adults can actually disagree on something and still remain proper, respectful, and even personable. And it's going to show the real way to talk about a topic, and not to clout chase, not to seek fame, not to try to make money or try to show yourself better than somebody else or try to tear somebody's work down, but to say, hey, this is my perspective. Well, this is my perspective, and I can go to, this is where I'm getting it from. They go, well, this is where we get it from. Yeah. I'm going to love this. This is going to be really amazing. So I'm looking forward to that. One guy was in the archdeacon in the church for 33 years.
Well, I just want clarity, and I think you need perspective to get it. So I listen to all angles. Yeah, like, dude, I'll whoever that I don't remember his name, but
I don't remember.
I'll bring him in, and all he's going to say is what I think he'll say is like, yeah, Billy doesn't know his shit.
Yeah, that's all he's going to say.
He was wrong, and like, okay. Yeah. Now what? What else? But I got questions beyond, was Billy right? Was Billy wrong? I don't really, that's not my focus. My focus is like, Anunnaki. Mm-hmm. What have you found out about Anunnaki? Because if they're real, well, then again, I got even more questions.
You got a problem here.
And apparently, like, is Anunnaki just a myth, or is there evidence that they existed?
Yeah. I believe there's evidence.
What's that?
I believe that there's evidence that they existed.
Where's the evidence? Well, if you had to bet your net worth on one piece of evidence, what would it be?
The Great Pyramid at Giza. That pyramid.
And they can't explain how it was done.
That pyramid was not built by slaves, in my personal opinion. Now, somebody else can disagree, and guess what? I love them for it. But I've been there. I've been inside of it. I've been underneath the Great Pyramid, 65 meters down one shaft, 30 meters down to another shaft. I've been underneath the bedrock of the Great Pyramid. I've inspected every angle, every crevice, every place that I can get into or crawl into or see with remote control cars or whatever it is. I've been through that thing up and down, top to bottom for many, many years.
And no humans built it.
No humans built that. First of all, number one, the Great Pyramid is not a Lego set. You don't go say, let's get this quarry and cut these blocks and then get them over here so we can just stack them up. The Great Pyramid is a puzzle. There's over 2 million interlocking individual pieces of a puzzle to put the pyramid together, which means that every single brick, every stone is a fingerprint. There's no two stones alike. Not one.
Now, see, again, if that is a fact, because I'm just taking your word for it, you may be full of crap and someone's like, bullshit, dude, but let's assume you're telling the truth. Again, dude, then why would they argue that that wasn't built by humans? Okay. The government confirms that there's a non-human aircraft. Yeah. And not only that, but like the pyramids are aligned with like some geometric.
They're aligned with a lot. There's a lot of alignments. There's more than one alignment. So, for example, the Great Pyramid itself, let me go back and rephrase something. I believe that people built the pyramid, but not slaves. Now, I believe that the instruction came down from these Neiters. They call them Neiters in Africa. Okay, Egypt, ancient, the Kemetic people, before it was called Egypt. That's another word thing going on with the word Egypt. Egypt is not the original name of that area. It was Kemet. But these people actually were given the blueprint and the instruction and tutelage by the Netters, which are the Anunnaki, same people. And then they instructed this group of people to build this Great Pyramid. So they taught them the building techniques using some type of technology that we can't explain today. Now, if you look at the base of the Great Pyramid and you measure it, you can calculate so much things from the base, the tropical year, the sidereal year, and based on the location and the angle of the antechamber and the Grand Gallery, you can calculate things like the speed of the Earth on its axis, the speed of the Earth around the sun, the distance from the Earth to the moon, the distance from the Earth to the sun, the speed of the galaxy around the local cluster of galaxies. All that can be calculated from the measurements of the Great Pyramid. Also, engineers, some of the top engineers in the world have analyzed the structure and they all come to the same conclusion. It was a power generator. It generated wireless electricity. Nikola Tesla, back in the 1800s, copied that same technique of moving water underneath the structure, harnessing the earth, and creating wireless electricity. So that's what it did. It generated wireless electricity and it transmitted those wireless electricity frequencies to nearby obelisks, which then captured those frequencies and transmitted those to jets, which then people would use to power gold plating devices, looms, and all kind of other technologies that they had at the day. Probably even their tools that they used to cut the stone in the first place.
Well, how come none have been recovered?
Well, there's a couple reasons. If you look at the Great Pyramid, you can see that the capstone is missing. But then look at other pyramids that have had capstones. A lot of the capstones are missing. Okay, some are flat top. They didn't need a capstone, but the ones that had a peak at the top, a lot of them are gone. The Grand Gallery going up into the King's Chamber, the rods are missing. You can see the slots for the rods, but the resonating rods are gone. Where'd they take them? Somebody took them. A lot of the technology has been stripped and taken away, which is unfortunate, but that seems to be what has happened.
But by whom?
Nobody knows. Potentially, maybe these Anuna or the Anunnaki people, these Netters. They took the technology away.
Now, are those just humans from another planet?
I believe they're humans from another planet.
And if you believe that, do you believe the creator made them too?
Absolutely. They said.
Do you believe in a single creator?
Yeah. They said that the creator of all will have to answer to the creator of all for what they've done here.
The Anunnaki?
Yeah.
So they're in trouble?
So they knew that what they did by coming to this planet, engaging mankind, basically enslaving us, masquerading as gods, they knew that they would have to pay for this one day because they said we will have to answer to the creator of all. So they knew that they weren't gods. They knew they were masquerading as gods.
What religious text do you feel is the most accurate? What year? What would someone want? What's the source material? Is it the Dead Sea Scrolls or even older?
Even older than that. We'll probably go into the ancient Sumerian tablets, the Indian Vedas, the Mahabharata, the Ring Veda specifically, which talks about the Battle of the 10 Kings.
And that's thousands of years before Christ.
Thousands. Yeah, thousands.
So again,
the Bhagavad Gita, I would go into that. The Code of Hammurabi, the Myth of Adapa, there's a lot of super ancient text out there that would just really shock the world and break down so much information.
Can't you feed all that into AI and then just ask it all the questions in the world?
Yeah, you can. I mean, you could. I haven't done that, but that's a good idea. Now, there is a library that you can connect to read the tablets. It's an online library, the UCLA CDLI Online Digital Cuneiform Library, and you can drop the stones in the translator and read it for yourself.
I put into ChatGPT, do you think there's a God? And ChatGPT says, based on science, it wouldn't ever confirm it, but it said, any rational, logical person would agree that there is. So I don't get atheists altogether. They just think we accidentally all came here and we just accidentally, we were all one little amoeba and now we're all these different species and animals. How does a butterfly and a rhinoceros, how do you explain that? Where did it split? Yeah. That's just, to me, it's like, no, come on. And then the distance and the circumference and the Fibonacci sequence and the thumbprint and all of our fingerprints are unique.
Yeah,
like we're all unique. The fact that a woman can create another one, it's like, and then animals and all of it. It's like, no, dude, there's a creator.
There's a creator.
All right, let me ask you this, because I know you don't have all the time in the world, and I probably had you longer than you agreed to. Okay, if you could literally inject a single idea or thought or belief that you have into the brain of every human on Earth, so everybody wakes up a little bit.
Yeah,
that like you really truly believe, and you could just give one, what would it be?
I would tell people to realize that they are powerful.
See, ain't nothing wrong with that, and I do agree.
Yeah,
we all are.
Don't believe they're powerful. They believe they have no power. They have succumbed to outside influence and programming all their life, and it's allowed themselves to believe that they've been robbed of any power whatsoever. But the truth is, they are walking nuclear explosions.
Okay, you talk a lot about ancient civilizations and hidden knowledge. If you had to risk your entire net worth on one piece of evidence, you already mentioned that one. Yeah. That's the pyramids.
The Great Pyramid, yeah.
All right, take us to your darkest holy crap moment, that single event that rattled your perspective on reality the hardest.
I would have to say it would be that day in 1977 when I saw that object fly over my backyard. You got to remember, at that time, the word UFO, flying saucer, aliens didn't even exist in my vocabulary. So I didn't even have the words to describe what I saw in terms of that idiom. So what happened there is it took me into a whole other realm of trying to figure out what in the hell, and I spent my whole life trying to figure out what in the hell that was, because I knew it wasn't a plane, because planes had a cockpit, they had wings, some had propellers, some didn't. They had a tail, all this stuff was missing from this object, and it didn't have any noise. So in that case,
and you saw it clear as a bell.
Oh, clear as a bell, broad daylight, clear.
And how old were you?
7 years old.
So you weren't like, imagining.
No,
you saw it. Just like, dude, you put me on a lie detector. I saw that bubble.
Yeah, absolutely. I ran in the house screaming, "Oh my God, Mom! You can't believe what I just saw," and everything else.
And they've confirmed it however many years later, because the U.S. government does confirm.
That's right.
All right. You often speak about tapping into higher realms of consciousness. Mm-hmm. If NASA offered you a seat on the next rocket to uncover the secrets of Mars with no guarantee you're coming back, you going?
If I was single, I'd go, but my wife wants to go, so if she confirms yes, we're going.
You guys would get on a rocket and go to Mars not knowing jack shit.
Yeah, we would.
Don't you realize that it would take several waves of those people? You're sacrificing yourself?
Yeah, it's possible.
You're going to Mars, dude. What's up there?
We're explorers.
There's nothing up there.
There might be nothing up there.
Well, what do you expect? A civilization?
I think that there's remnants of an ancient civilization on Mars.
Which means you guys are screwed. When that thing lands, you ain't got no food. You ain't got no nothing.
It's possible. But
no internet. You can be knocked back to the beginning of time.
That's true. But
I would never go.
I've lived the life of 10 men already.
I would never go.
I've lived the life of 10 men.
I think if you thought about it, you probably wouldn't go either.
I don't know, man. It's very intriguing.
Dude, it's a death sentence.
It's possible, but I'm not afraid of death, especially after I had this last near-death experience. I took my fear of death completely away, wiped it from my brain, because I was in a place that was so tranquil and so peaceful and so serene, and I was given a choice: do I want to stay there or do I want to go back? And they said, if you go back, it's going to be hard. And I remembered my wife. We haven't reached our 1 year anniversary yet, and how young she was. And I said, I just want to go back. And they said, it's going to be hard. So I came back, and I fought to stay alive.
I don't know, man. I would not go into space.
Everybody's got their own decisions to make, you know.
Number one, we might hit a firmament and find out real quick. You ain't getting past the firmament. And if there's no firmament and there really is space, well, then you're out in the middle of nowhere with no help, no nothing.
Have you seen some of the places I've been on Earth? You'd realize where I'd go. I've been in places that people would are so claustrophobic they couldn't survive 5 minutes in those places. Crawling in my size, 6'4", 220 pounds, crawling through some of the tightest places that you can barely squeeze through, in caves and underground shafts and stuff. So, you know.
Okay, if you could hack into the source code, our source code. Yeah. Oh, by the way, Yahuwah, which was really YHWH. You've heard that.
Yeah.
Yahuwah might be how they say it, Yahweh, Jehovah. Like that's the
Yahweh.
creator's name.
Yeah.
According to what I'm finding, that's the creator's name. Now, scientists have been studying our DNA and know more about our DNA than they've ever known. And now they're sequencing our DNA, and it literally, according to them, and again, I mean, I'm looking at, I'm not
the code Yahweh on there.
It says YHWH
right,
in a code in our DNA.
Yeah, DNA stores information too, so that would make sense that it would be in there.
Yeah, but dude, that's crazy shit. Then that's proof right there again.
Yeah.
Like, dude, he put his print on us.
Yeah.
And then the fact that it's pronounced Yahweh or whatever, that's your breath.
Yeah.
You know, so the second you take a breath, you're saying his name, and your very last breath, you're saying his name.
Yeah, I know. It's amazing.
It's crazy. Like, dude, if someone doesn't think there's a creator, you're nuts. The question is what's the rest of it mean? And again, my belief so far, because I'm just seeking, guys, I don't want to have armed security. I'm not saying anything. I'm saying I'm seeking.
Yeah.
And by the way, the scripture says to. So in all scripture,
it
pretty
says
much.
My people die for a lack of knowledge also.
Yeah.
So you better
yes,
get
it
some
does.
knowledge.
I did read that somewhere. And I also read somewhere that says basically he who has more will get more, and he who has less will get even less.
Yeah.
Well, maybe that's knowledge.
That's right.
He who has some will get more, and he who has none will get even less. Mm-hmm. Okay, so what one hack would you change about our sequencing, our DNA, to give us an upgrade? So, like, if this was a video game and you could hack the source code and give humans a upgrade for a different human experience, what would it be? Like telepathy, immortality, be able to fly, read minds. What would it be?
I would extend their telomeres in chromosome number 2.
So we can live 800 years?
Because the longer you live, the smarter you get. My opinion. I think that we're living such a short time frame. By the time we begin to understand what's really going on, we die. And then the cycle begins
And then
again.
you can't tell nobody.
You can't tell anybody. It's too late. I've talked to a lot of super elderly people around the world, and they all have so many regrets and so many things that they impart to me that's so wise, but they didn't know it until very late in life.
Okay, and because your platform reaches millions of people, so is there a person or maybe a hidden mentor that you've never met who's influenced you big time?
Ooh, there's so many of them actually, but I would say Bob Proctor is a huge one.
Bob Proctor. What about living?
Living? What do you mean? Living. Living. He passed away. A living mentor right now.
Like he doesn't know that you consider him, because people don't understand. They think mentors have to be the guy that puts his arm over your shoulder.
Yeah, there's a gentleman named Bill Payne. William Payne is his real name, but Bill Payne. I've been good friends with him about 15 years, and he really does a great job mentoring me in certain aspects of my life, and I give him certain aspects. So it's like a real good two-way relationship.
Well, that's awesome, dude.
Yeah.
Listen, I appreciate you coming in. I know you probably got to go, so I don't want to keep peppering you with questions.
It's all right.
Folks, you heard it here on Dropping Knowledge, Billy Carson. You guys can follow him at Forbidden Knowledge. Okay, you can go to the website Forbidden Knowledge. You can get it out of the App Store and tap into the Consciousness TV, which you said had 3,600 episodes.
3,800.
3,800 episodes. So I can sit there and binge watch.
That's right.
And is it produced by you guys, or what is it?
Produced by us.
Is it just you sitting at a desk, or are there shows and shit?
Shows in there too. Yeah, with documentaries, we have TV series, we have a lot of incredible shows and stuff in there. We have incredible people that come on there with incredible talent. King Simon, a numerologist. We have Brad Olson, who actually went to Antarctica in person, and he comes back with the secrets of Antarctica. We have Matthew LaCroix.
See, I can keep talking to you. Like, what's up with Antarctica?
Oh, there's a lot going on there, man.
Because all the countries...
I have to tell you after I use the bathroom, though.
All the countries agreed not to go to a certain place. It's questioning. Folks, I'll have him back if he's good enough to come back. Appreciate you logging in. As always, until next time, keep it real.